Now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. My friend, I'll make it clear. I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. I've lived a life that's full. I've traveled each and every highway, and more, much more than this, I did it my way.
Well, I'd met Sinatra in Florida, and he said, please write me something. And then I had this idea of the title, My Way. Then just one night, it was 3 o'clock in the morning in New York. It was pouring with rain, and I was sitting inside in my music room, and I started, and now the end is near, and now I face the final curtain. And I said, wow, that's it. That's for Sinatra. And I'll finish it, and that French melody, and I just put it all together that night in about 2 hours, and I sat there and looked at it, and I cried.
And now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. My friend, I'll make it clear. I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. I've lived a life that's full. I've traveled each and every highway, and more, much more than this, I did it my way.
Regrets, I've had a few.
But then again, too few to mention.
I did what I had to do.
I saw it through without exemption.
I planned each charted course,
Each stupid step along the byway.
and much more than this.
And did it more.
Now, my next guest comes from France, and 2 of his recent records sold over 8 million copies in Europe alone. In 1967, with 2 colleagues, he wrote a song called Comme d'habitude. 2 years later, Paul Anka gave it an English lyric, and it's now better known to us as My Way. Ladies and gentlemen, France's #1, Claude François.
Je me lève et je te bouscule, tu ne te réveille pas comme d'habitude.
When I heard it, it was a French record called Comme d'habitude, which means as usual.
Que tu es froid comme d'habitude.
And I transformed the song into a song for Sinatra. It's 2 different songs, actually. I think if I'd played Sinatra, the original French record, I probably would have been thrown out of the room.
Presque malgré moi, comme d'habitude. Mais toi, tu me tournes le dos.
But Anka wasn't the first to write an English lyric to François' melody. That honour went to an unknown songwriter called David Bowie.
A time, a happy time. I took my heart to every party. They'd point
Bowie's cut-price demo disc was dubbed over François' original recording.
Will you make us laugh? chase, I'll lose away. Their funny man won't let them down. Oh, I dance and prance and be their clown. That time, a happy time that even a fool learns to laugh.
It's really rather a good tune, I think. Well, and one of the things that's good about it is the way it goes onwards, and you are always going forward and always coming back. You see, of course, that is what the words are saying, in a way that I'm going my way and I'm making it. And you're always trying to get somewhere. Now, that is evident in the actual opening phrase itself, which is that rising sixth. Now, all through musical history, the rising sixth has been an interval of aspiration. There are pseudo-scientific reasons for this. The vibration ratio, it always wants to go there. Wants to come down again, you see, to that concord of the fifth. And so it's aspiring upwards. It's always been an aspiring interval. And here it is repeated over and over again, while the bass at first is very firm, but then gradually goes down like that. Goes down chromatically. And then the bass comes up, and then we have the rising sixth again, and we have the whole thing over again, but a tone higher. So every bit of us is, as it were, lifted up.
I planned each charted course, each careful step along the byway, but
much more than this. And then you get the leap of the sixth extended to a seventh. Much more. And then
I did it my way.
And up to the highest note.
Yes, there were times, I'm sure you knew, when I bit off more than I could chew. But through love, when there was doubt, I ate it all, spit it out. I tasted all.
I don't think it's a great piece of music, but I think there are reasons why it can be performed many, many times and still come up offering something.
I used to sit in hotel rooms just as a guest, and I'd hear a party of 100 people upstairs, just a beer party. They'd sing all kinds of songs, and they'd close the evening with My Way, like it was a touring act, you know. It has, you know, it just says it for a lot of different kinds of people, because I think it hits home for people, because I think somewhere within that lyric it allows everybody to feel that it's their own.
I've lived a life that's full. I've traveled each and every highway, and more, much more than this, I did it my way.
Having got the book, we then thought of a variety of titles, and a rather bold lady who had been one of my secretaries in the Foreign Office said there is only one possible title. It is In My Way. It's the words you used to use since ever I first met you in the Foreign Office on the first day you arrived. You used to bang the table and say, I'm going to do it in my way. And it was apparently my standard reply to the Foreign Service, who said, but diplomats don't act that way. If you remember, I'd been under very great pressure from your friends in the media about, my lifestyle and my habit of doing in public what politicians are normally expected to do in private, particularly in those days, drinking. And I'd also been heavily accused of tackling jobs and not succeeding completely in them, as though that were a crime, whereas in my view the only crime is not trying at all. And those two things were in my mind, and those, that particular stanza about chewing off more, biting off more than you can chew, but nevertheless, when you failed, spitting it out, standing up, and staying true. That seemed to me to, if anybody wants to write what I thought I was, that's it.
Sloppy, drift, and indecision which marked the period under the Tories. Laughter, my dear friend, is no substitute for argument.
I've lived a life that's full, okay? That's all right, I had. As a politician, I'd had it all, except being Prime Minister, but I had everything. I've travelled each and every highway. There isn't any question about that. But at the end of the day, the summing up is the next line. And more. More than having lived a life that's full. More than having travelled every highway. More than having had every office in this land open to me except Prime Minister. More than all of that is the fact that I did it my way. And I don't know what, what epitaph a boy from Peabody Buildings in the Blackfriars Road, who had finished his education at an elementary level, or central level as we then called it. I don't know what better epitaph you could want. I did all that. I got all that way down the line and I did it my way. And at no stage did I have to conform. And I walked out of jobs rather than do so. That's my way of life.
Do you, in retrospect, wish that you had conformed on certain occasions?
No. No.
Oh, no. Oh, no, not me. I did it my way. Forward is a woman. What has she got? If not herself, then she has not. To say the things she truly feels are not the words of one who lives. The record shows I took the blows and did it my
Edwards, Barry John.
Our castaway this week is a great figure in the world of rugby football. It's Barry John. Where do we start? What's the first one?
Yes, it's called My Way by the great Frank Sinatra, of course. When I went through the list of records, I thought about this one. I thought because I feel I've been very lucky in life, and I mentioned on the programme that I've been able to make most of my own decisions, even from a very, very young age. And whatever I did, I was encouraged, or they were discussed, or things like this. But no one ever really pushed you to do something. You know, even in a simple sense of perhaps being in school, if I wanted to play scrum half or full back, and no one said, no, you're a fly half, you're a centre, you stay there. You know, there was room to manoeuvre in your thinking as well as in your playing. And this went on, I think. And even on the field, even when we came to the days of coaching, I was allowed to be myself, say an individual, within the team and squad setter.
There's Barry John.
Particularly in team sports now, I'm not quite sure whether this is really being done. You know, that people are going out of their way to help young kids to come through and everything like that. To go on, express yourself to it. I mean, there's one fairly famous football manager who said that I don't want any individuals in my team. But whether he likes it or not, he's got 11.
I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. I've lived a life that's full. I've traveled each and every highway.
Thank God I have. That song helped enormously. I couldn't imagine my life without it, actually. I couldn't imagine my act without it. But there were times, and I'm sure the public knew, that I bit off more than I could chew. But through it all, when there were doubts, I ate it up and I spit it out. Let's face it, I've been through a hell of a lot since my split up from Roger, and I ate all the press and the stinking press and the mud that was thrown at me. I ate it up and I spit it out.
Find it all so amusing.
Sometimes I cry
That I did all that.
and wonder at the things I've done and come through it. That line. And the public probably think I'm crying because of the emotion of the song. But I'm crying for having come through it all.
I've lived a life this is in fact all a pack of lies, you see. I mean, I don't believe that anyone who really does do it his way has to sing about it like this. This is a load of rubbish.
When you're going through life, you've got to consider other people, obviously. You cannot just go ploughing through life, pleasing yourself and doing exactly as you want to do.
We all make mistakes. You know, you all have good times, you know, as a whole. I've had a good life. In that respect, you know, and so I wouldn't burst out singing about it, you know, and that, you know. I'm happy with it.
If you live in a society where everything you do have to be related to what others do and so on and so on, you can't really do things your way. It's impossible.
That human life consists of relationships with other people and with the world at large. And all this is saying is that if I go my way, that's enough. But of course we know that really it cannot be enough. And indeed, I suppose a life could hardly be very full and very satisfying if you interpret that at its face value. I mean, nobody could have a very satisfactory life if they just trampled on other people and never loved other people. Doesn't say anything about love ever, you say.
Somebody's singing da dee da da. It's regrets I've had a few, and you know, saying I've had a few regrets. You know, so regrets I've had a few. Particular word few. Okay, off we go then, choir. 3, 4. I like the song because it sounds a bit hymn-like. Everything that the choristers of St Paul's sing sounds a bit like a hymn. I mean, let's face it, one of the best-known hymn tunes. How about this one? It's not so far removed, really, from the flowing quality of that tune. Other tunes. How about I mean, I'm playing them all in the same key intentionally, you see, but I mean, you know, all the classic anthems that we sing in St Paul's, like I waited for the Lord inclined. If I do that, I'm into the bass, then I just get... I mean, I could play that as the choir goes out of St Paul's and no one would turn a hair. I mean, if they didn't associate with other words at all. It's a sort of churchy melody, if you know. And then I thought, well, I must do something to embellish the tune. So what I've done is, or what I'm thinking of doing for the arrangement, is I'm going to put some sustain sounds over the top, the sort of classical thing that you hear at the end of the very best arrangements, like sort of oohs, and while this is going on... and I'm going to have on the top some oohs going. Oohs and ahs, of course, not getting in the way of what the soloist is singing at the end, and that makes a very sort of flowing feeling and a very, if you like, a hymn-like feeling about it. Sort of piece, I mean, were the words not quite as they are, it's the sort of thing I might even consider doing as an anthem.
Do you not think it's a very egocentric song?
Oh, well, we're all egocentric, I think, aren't we? I mean, this is how we identify ourselves with this song. We say, yes, I did it my way. I mean, here am I, you know, at St Paul's Cathedral, and I can honestly say, yes, I did it my way. I started off in the insurance office. I didn't go through all the channels. You know, I got to the top of music my way. So I identify myself with this song very much. I've arranged it my way, and we're going to sing it my way. For the last thing we do, we're going to sing it my way.
Loved, and cried, I've had my fill, my share of losing, and now as they subside, I find it all so amusing to think I did all that, and may I say, not in a shy way. Oh no, no, not me. I did it my way. What is a man? What has he got? He knows himself, and he has gone to say all
Regrets, I've had a few.
I liked the Presley record because it wasn't a song that Presley would do. Near the end, curiously enough, he said, I'm going to do my way, and we really got into a dialogue about what it meant to him, because all of a sudden it started to gel for those of us around him that he was going through some problems, and all of a sudden this song became very important to him. And it was something that was touching to me because I grew up with Presley, and he used to come to my shows, and I went to his, and slowly through the years, I noticed a change in the man, and all of a sudden, for someone who really had a very special kind of plateau in our industry, he came along and said, I'm going to do my way, and I'm going to do it because and because. You could see he was doing the song because it was a way of him expressing himself, and curiously enough, it became his eulogy in a sense, because it was very close to the end when he recorded the song.
And now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. My friend, I'll say it clear, I state my case, of which I'm certain. I've lived a life that's full, I traveled each and every highway, and more, much more than this, I did it my way.
Yeah, I tend to think of this song entirely in association with would-be up-and-coming cabaret singers in Luton nightclubs who can't sing and who probably think they're Frank Sinatra.
I came all undone.
And now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain.
My friend, I'll say it clear, I'll state my case, of which I'm certain.
I've lived a life that's full. I've traveled each and every highway.
And more, much more than this, I did it my way.
Yes, there were times, I guess you knew, when I bit off more than I could chew. But through it all, when there was doubt, I ate it up and spat it out.
I face it all, and I stood tall, and did it my way.
I think people buy it because they think it's got to be in their record collection. Because when they're all suicidal on New Year's Eve, they think, oh, I must play I Did It My Way.
I think a lot of people who wear frocks for a living felt it was their song, but I don't think. When you think about the lyrics, what do the lyrics mean?
I mean, it's just a song with lyrics that make you want to cry.
Regrets, I've had a few, but about regrets, I just won't mention.
I did all the things that I had to do. And then I saw them all through, without exemption.
To think I did all that, and may I say, not in a shy way.
Oh no, not me. I did it my way.
Oh, what is a man? What has he got? If not himself, then he has not to say the things he truly feels, and not the words of one who kneels. The record shows I took the blows and did it my way. I did it my
Do you feel that you've been able to do things your way?
Yes. Yes, I do. Because I'm a very strongly disciplined person, which is lacking in society today. I've been brought up correctly by my parents. I've attended church. And I think that helps me to live my way.
Do you feel you've been able to do things your way, though, in your life?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. I can't complain.
Yes, yes. My husband and I, definitely, yes. We've done what we wanted to do, not what other people have told us what to do.
I don't think people do it their way. I think that's a sad part of the whole thing. I mean, everybody buys it, but people don't do it their way. People live to restrictions what other people tell them to do on their lifestyle, and that's the sad part of the whole song. Everyone's going, oh yes, I love that song, Frank Sinatra sings, or whoever. I did it my way, but they're not doing it their way. They're doing as society tells them to do. We are in this country now, in all our walks of life, as a slight exaggeration, nearly, in some ways, as rough with the dissident as the Soviet Union. And we take people's jobs away in your profession. Or in mine now, because I have a journalist card. I'm a pro now. You take people's jobs away for dissent. In my old union, the transport workers, we have agreements with employers now, and if you fall out with the union, it's the only bloody thing you can actually be sacked for without being able to appeal. There is it's not just that people are expected to behave as conformists. They are punished very severely in this country for not. We don't yet put them in psychiatric hospitals, which is about the only damn thing we don't do.
I think the world would be a damn sight better place if everybody did it the way they believed it was right. It's the only way. Absolutely the only way.
I think the interesting thing to say about this version is that really it is logical, a logical development from the philosophy inherent in the words. If you are really saying the only thing that matters in life is to do it your way with indomitable courage, come what may, regardless of other people, then of course you could quite well end simply by being a destructive force like sin.
When I bit off more than I could chew, and through it all, when there was doubt, I ate it up, then spit it out. I grew cold through it all, and did it my way. I've loved, I've laughed and cried, I've had my fill, my share of losing. But now as tears subside, I find it all so amusing to think I did all that, and may I say, not in a shy way, no, no, not me. I did it my way. For what is a man? What has he got? If not himself, then he has not.
say that we